So as we go through today, it's really going to be important. You're going to hear me say multiple times about self-awareness. And self-awareness is a critical piece to stress management and just overall well-being to make sure that we put a strategy in place when we need it. All right, so certainly these are very stressful times. I'm not going to say the C word too much this afternoon, but you know, with COVID, there are many health concerns still lingering. There still is social isolation with people having to quarantine and just nervousness if you've been around somebody who tests positive for COVID. Family obligations and parents just having so much to juggle. Workload, we know we have a lot of educators out there, and the workload is something that we hear over and over with schools. Just the amount of work that keeps popping up, and especially the lack of substitute teachers. So teachers are, you know, and administrators, there's lack of bus drivers, there's so many things going on. So there's really a lot going on. It's more important than ever that we pay attention to our well-being and the levels of stress that we're experiencing. All right, so I know that you're doing many things already to reduce your stress and to positively contribute to your well-being. So if in that question area on the platform, if you just jot down some of the ways that you are currently managing your stress, because I know that you're doing many things already, even if you don't think so, you are. All right, so I'm going to today focus on the last two bullet points here. Positive mental strategies and breathing techniques, because those are two things that we have access to all the time. We always have our brain, our mind, right? Our mental capacity, and we always have our breath. It's with us wherever we go. But these other 6 strategies are really important, and you've probably heard about these things, and it's why I'm not going to focus on those. I'm going to focus on the things that you probably haven't, you know, heard as much of. But talk to family and friends, exercise, take a break and relax. Even when it's even more important when you think you're too busy to take a break, that's when you need to take a break. So it's almost the opposite of what we're thinking we should do is what we should do. Practice mindfulness. There's a mindful magazine. There's so many mindfulness apps. There's great resources out there about mindfulness. A lot of research. Meditation prayer is very helpful for people, and journaling. And with journaling, I only ask that you just don't focus only on the problem or what's going wrong, but put something down there that's positive about the situation. So, all right. So how would you like to contribute to your well-being in the future? I want you to just pause for a moment and think about what part of your being would you like to you know, feel better about. And we'll talk about the 4 components of ourselves, and you'll be able to think more about that question as we go along here today. So this quote on the bottom is very special to me, dwell in possibilities. After I'd been held at gunpoint at my job, this was a quote that gave me inspiration every day. It kept me going. It kept me thinking about possibilities. And for students and as a school counselor, it was really important that I was fully present for them. So I just encourage you to have positive messages around you. But this is about being open-minded to solutions, possibilities, and one small change that you can make to move the situation forward in a positive direction. We'll talk a little bit more about that today. So how do you know when you need to self-care with a strategy? So it's really important to, again, self-awareness, you'll hear me say that a couple more times likely, but self-awareness of your tolerance point and your triggers. So your stress tolerance point and your stress triggers. Really important to have this self-awareness. Again, if we're not self-aware, we don't realize it's happening, we're just on that merry-go-round of, or maybe spinning, you know those rides at the theme parks where you're just spinning around like crazy. That's sometimes how stress is, and we need to stop. We need to stop that cycle, be self-aware, and put a strategy in place. So stress tolerance point is that point at which your stress level turns from productive to counterproductive. So a certain amount of stress is actually good. It's called eustress. E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S, eustress. And it's, you know, before like a presentation like this, we have increased energy, more clarity, sharpness. We react more quickly when that fight or flight, you know, if we're in danger. So a certain amount of stress is okay, but it's when we reach that tolerance point, that top of that bell curve, and start going over the edge, when it's really affects our mind, body, spirit, everything. We have decreased performance, there can be confusion, frustration. So it's really, really important that we be aware of our stress tolerance point and what happens in our body when we reach that point. So we're going to take a moment to think about what body signs or cues you experience that indicate you are reaching your stress tolerance point. So stress can affect our well-being in 4 component areas: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So I want you to think about what areas of your being are most affected by stress. Physical, that's headaches. Sometimes people get stomach aches. We get stiff neck, a lot of people hold stress in their shoulders. So, that's a really, really good to be self-aware of that. Mental, confusion. Sometimes we're like at our breaking point. Sometimes we have a short fuse. Emotional, sometimes sadness, sometimes, people are short-tempered, they make quick decisions or lash out, when they're at their stress tolerance point. And spiritual, and whether you're religious or not, spiritual, that's a part of us that, dreams and hopes and is future oriented. It's that hopefulness, about us. So that's an important component as well to be aware of. Triggers. Also important to be self-aware of triggers. People. Yes, sometimes people are triggers. It doesn't mean you should avoid them, but just be aware of it. Put some strategies, which we'll talk about in a minute, in place before you see these people. Get your mind in the right place before you see these people. Places can be triggers, especially if you've had a traumatic experience, at a certain place. Situations can be traumatic for certain people or cause stress reaction, especially things like, traffic jams. Some people get really, really, uptight, when they're in a traffic jam, especially type A personalities that are very time conscious and they want to get to where they're going. So just be aware of that, because you need to put a strategy in place to lower those stress hormones and get yourself in an okay place. Extra tasks work. Again, I know that's a problem right now. So just be aware of, what triggers, your stress, and time of day. Sometimes time of day. I have some people tell me that Sundays are a stressful time for them because it's like the weekend is over. They're starting to think about, work again. And so, I've met with many clients, talking about, how to reframe and how to really enjoy Sundays, because for certain people, time of day or certain days can be stressful. All right, so stress responses that take away from our well-being. Withdrawing, ignoring the stress, not the best thing to do. Many of us do it, it's okay, but just being aware of that. Eating junk food, stress eat, we hear that all the time. It's normal, don't feel bad if you do it, but just be aware, that stomach ache you get after is probably not worth it. Lashing out at others, again, that emotional side of us that is affected. Pretending all is well, it's not good, to just ignore it and just pretend, that everything's okay. Because a lot of times then we go into a shell and we're not reaching out to family and friends and using the strategies that we need to use. And self-medicate. Sometimes, people do turn to, alcohol and things like that. Again, the best strategies are ones that are healthy. So, all right, lifestyle factors also play a role in our stress tolerance point. So which of the following, just think about this, which of the following lifestyle factors affect your stress levels? Overcommitting yourself, trouble saying no, take a step back is always a good thing. Perfectionism, procrastinating, oftentimes just getting a little start on something can really, really help. Staying up too late. I've talked about some of these before. Frequently late or rushing, that doesn't help, especially with those traffic jam situations. It's better to, really, really strive to have good boundaries and leave early enough so that you don't have to, face that. And being organized, that definitely can affect stress levels. All right, so it's indisputable that stress is detrimental to our health, happiness, and peace of mind. And I didn't go into all the health implications, but there are a lot. And I hate to even say that, but it's true. And again, unless we know how bad stress is for us and how important it is to manage it, we don't do anything about it, right? We stay on that hamster wheel of stress and busyness and chaos. So the great news, this is the great news of it all, is that stress is something that everyone can learn to reduce, manage, and sometimes even eliminate. All right, so I always say that we can be empowered with all this knowledge. You have education, so I'm giving you information that you can hopefully absorb and take away with some very practical tools right away. That self-awareness piece. You can have the information, but without the self-awareness, you don't do anything with the information, right? The critical piece to both of those is action. To be empowered, you really need to take action, and we all know that, but just wanted to reiterate the importance of having the knowledge, having the self-awareness, and putting into action to really make this work for you. All right, so what are these 5 practical strategies to relieve stress and promote well-being? All right, the first one is positive reframing or positive self-talk. They're all my favorites. I don't know if I can say I have a favorite one, but this is really about consciously being aware of your internal voice. Our mind is constantly going. Sometimes I say to myself, I wish there was an on-off switch, I can turn it off, especially when I'm trying to sleep. But it's just being very, very aware, again, self-aware of our internal voice, and really redirect worrisome, negative, pessimistic thinking and language to be more positive and hopeful. So be aware of your thoughts as well as your words that come out of your mouth. Really, really powerful. The thing is here, again, we must be self-aware. We must recognize our negative thinking in order to stop it. All right, so I'm going to give you some examples. It is helpful to try to avoid absolutes such as always and never, especially in a negative context. So an unhealthy thought is, this will never work out. The positive reframe, I don't see how this will work out, but I'm not going to lose hope. See, there's possibility in that reframe. He always forgets his homework. Well, he hasn't brought his homework yet, but I'm not giving up on him. Again, that word yet is very critical. I'll never lose weight. Again, never in the absolute tense, change that to I've struggled with my weight, but I'm not giving up. What if I get COVID? I may get it, but I'm going to do everything I can to prevent it. Okay. All right, so the quickest way to change how we think, how we feel, is to change how we think. And this goes both ways. Changing how we feel can affect how we think about things. Changing how we think can affect our feelings and our emotions. Our thoughts are so powerful. I can't say enough about it. So every action in our life depends on our mindset, right? If we believe we can do something, we're more likely to do it. All right, so 2, solution-focused thinking. A little similar to the first one, but solution-focused thinking has a really great twist to it. Solution-focused thinking is about flipping the switch from problem-focused to solution-focused. Now, it's about thinking what is possible within reach. Oftentimes we focus on what's not possible, right? And we kind of ruminate and get stuck on what's not possible, but even if there's a little change, something you can do, think about that. One thing you can do to make the situation a little bit better. What have I done in the past that worked with a similar situation? So kind of the possibilities, thinking about the possibilities. All right, using solution-focused language. This is about presuppositional, which is like future-oriented language. So just changing our language slightly. So when, using the word when instead of if, and will, not would. And I have a couple examples here. So instead of using the word or the phrase, if I ever figure this out, change that to when I figure this out. Or even with a student, if you ever figure this out, change it to when you figure out this math problem or whatever it is. How will that make you feel? So just that one word change. I would have liked to blank. Next time I will. So would to will. All right, and just a couple other examples. The word yet, so far, and will, and next time, those are very powerful. So I haven't figured it out yet. So far, no solution, but I'll get it, or you'll get it. I will do blank instead next time. So again, solution-focused thinking, solution-focused talk. So this is all about thinking about what is possible within reach. One small change that can be made to move the situation in a positive direction is sometimes and often all that's needed to get the momentum going in the right direction. I'm not saying it's a be-all end-all, but the momentum is really, really important, and our own hopefulness about the situation. So just think about one area of your life that solution-focused thinking will be helpful. You're welcome to put that in. I know it's not called a chat box, it's called a question box, but you can put chat-related, answers and items in there if you're comfortable doing so. And we do have one of our administrators, Caitlin Marone, is monitoring that. So, and nobody else will see that. I believe just Caitlin will see that, so she'll respond to you. Okay. All right, 3, putting things in perspective. Another important mental strategy. 4 of these are mental. Our perspective of a situation can alter our experience of it and our stress levels. In fact, stress is believed to be our perception of a situation. If you look at the definition of stress, it's really our perception of a situation. And oftentimes it's warranted. I don't want to say, you should never be stressed, because it is human nature and everybody experiences stress. So that's why we need these strategies. So this, putting things in perspective, scaling questions. I love scaling questions. So think about, and you can ask yourself this question: how bad is this situation on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 is low, 10 is, it's very significant. Think about, will it be significant next week, next month, or next year on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 low, 10 high? How much control do I have over the situation? Oftentimes things are out of our control. They're over, they're done with, and we have to try to let those things go, because sometimes they're in our minds, we ruminate about them. So if you have little control over the situation, try to figure out how to let that go and move on with some peace. How stressed am I? So this is a comparison. How stressed am I over this? Oftentimes we're in that traffic jam, our stress level's a 9. You think, how stressed should I be? Well, I'm safe, yes, I'll be late for work, but, and so often how stressed should I be is a much lower number than how our current stress level. So that oftentimes just brings it right down. Very helpful strategy. All right, when faced with adversity or a problem, it's really, really helpful, can be helpful to say, what's good about this? What can I learn from it, even if it's a tough situation? How can I benefit from this? Often adversity, challenges in our life do make us stronger. We often don't see it in the moment, but after it's over and done, we usually have learned something from it. So is there anything you can be grateful for? Another way to kind of look at that. All right, the 4th strategy is passive attitude. And I've got a caveat here, which I'll tell you about. But passive attitude is helpful when you have no control over the situation, when the situation is over and done with, was handled appropriately, you did everything you could. And if you're worried about a situation that's in the past and can't be changed, passive attitude is a very good a strategy for that. If you're worried about the future, it's really important, to try to bring yourself back to the present. That's that mindfulness piece. Passive attitude, I do want to say, should never be used when you or someone else is in danger or somebody's rights are being violated. So passive attitude would never be appropriate in that situation. But I'm sure in the next slide you'll see there's phrases that I encourage you to memorize. One, you don't have to memorize them all, but the first one is, oh well, why worry? Kind of, it's what's done is done. Sometimes those are even used in conjunction with each other. It won't help to worry, so I'm not going to. That's a good one. And it is what it is. Oftentimes things that are, just really out of our control, we've got to, kind of accept that it is what it is. All right. And the 5th strategy, and this one is super important, is our breath and breathing. And I just want to say that our breathing, again, as well as our mind, is something we have with us all the time. It never leaves us. So it is one of the most accessible, the thought strategies and the breathing strategies. That's why I'm really focusing on those. We have them with us all the time. We can't always run to the gym. You're in the middle of a, something at work, a stressful situation, or something at home. You can't always run to the gym or go exercise. You can't always talk to somebody right away. You're teaching a class or you're in the middle of a situation, at school or work. So keep in mind that these, both the breathing and the positive thought strategies are really the quickest and most accessible way to lower stress hormones and elicit that relaxation response. So we're going to talk about breathing for a couple minutes here. All right, so we're going to do a little activity, and I don't know if you can see me, but I'm going to have you put one hand on your chest and the other one right above your belly button. All right, so nobody can see you, so don't be shy. Don't be shy. All right, so I want you to just breathe, take a deep breath in through your nose And then you can breathe out through your mouth. And I just want you to pay attention as you breathe in for 3, and we'll do this in a second. But as you breathe in for a count of 3, I want you to notice whether your chest expands outward or whether your belly expands outward. So we'll practice this. So just take a breath. I'll count you to 3 as you count. As I count up to 3, you'll be breathing in, and then 3, 2, 1, you'll be breathing out. Okay, ready? Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, and breathe out, 3, 2, 1. All right, so hopefully you took a deep breath there. And I want you to think about whether your chest or your belly expanded outward. Which one? Sometimes our chest goes out when we take a deep breath in, and you can try that again if you're not sure, but take a deep breath in and blow it out through your mouth, and I want you to just pay attention to that. Oftentimes we take shallow breaths, especially when we're stressed. Our breathing becomes shallow and usually rapid. So what we want to do is slow down our breathing, right? And the best way is to take these deep diaphragmatic breaths. They're often called deep breathing. But when we notice our chest expanding outward more than our belly, that's more of a shallow breath. And what we want to do is fill, as we breathe in through our nose, you want your belly to expand almost like you're filling your belly like a balloon. Okay, so you should really feel your belly expanding outward as you breathe in. And then as you breathe out, your belly should contract back in. So the next slide gives you a little visual of this. And I want you to practice this again. And I'll try, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm going to have you inhale again, and I'm going to count up to 3. And breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. And I want you to really try to breathe like you're filling your belly with air, like you're filling a balloon. So I'm going to go ahead and start counting. So start breathing in, 1, 2, 3, and breathe out, 1, 2, 3. This should go. And then breathe in, 1, 2, 3. You should feel your belly expand outward, and then exhale, 1, 3, 2, 1, and you should feel your belly go back in. The best way to practice that is with a book, by lying on the ground and put a book on your belly, and you should see as you breathe in and the air goes in and you fill your belly, you should see that book rise up, and then as you exhale out, you should see the book, you should see the book go down as you exhale out. All right, so just a quick recap. Positive reframing self-talk, redirecting thoughts, really, really important. And if you feel like it's important for you to take a few minutes to focus on the situation, that's okay. That's all right, but I would time yourself. Give yourself a couple minutes to worry about it, but then redirect those thoughts. Solution focused thinking, flip the switch from problem focused to solution. What can I do? What is possible? Putting things in perspective, again, scaling things on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is, this is horrible, this is the worst situation of my life, and it really could be, truly. I'm sorry, 1 is it's not bad at all, 10 is it's a terrible situation. So putting things in perspective, oftentimes things aren't quite as bad as our perspective of the situation. Passive attitude, come up with a phrase, oh, well, it is what it is. Everybody has something different, but that is also very helpful. In breathing techniques, again, we always have our mental capacities with us, and we always have our breath. There are many other breathing techniques. We don't have time today, but I encourage you to try something. This is the most basic one that really helps to lower the stress hormones and decrease those rapid, the shallow breathing. So we want to learn how to take those deep breaths. All right, another just recap of some of the other things we briefly talked about. Talk to family and friends. People need people. Exercise, take a break and relax, even when you don't think you have time. Practice mindfulness, meditation and prayer, journal, pick something, pick a couple things. Again, we need lots of tools in our toolbox because depending on the situation, where we are, how much time we have, we might only have 30 seconds in between a class. Your one class is leaving, next class is coming in, and you need to do some deep breathing. You can do that in 30 seconds. So I encourage you to dwell in possibilities. I know this quote has inspired me for probably the last 15 years or more. So I encourage you, positive things on the walls are always great at work. All right. We appreciate you attending today. There is a question area, so if you do have questions, feel free to put those in the question box there on the panel to the right. And I just want to, before we go to the Q&A, I just want to let you know that we encourage you to reach out to CITRS. If you like what you see today, we can come to your school or organization to provide a training like this. It's actually a piece of our GROW model for continuous school improvement. We know that we need to support educators. This is one of probably the toughest times in the history of the world or education right now. And it's education work environment is a very stressful situation right now. So we do have our GROW continuous improvement process that we would love to, share more with you about. And feel free to visit our website. It's citrus.org. And my email is there, sbracci, SBRACCI @CITRS.org. You can reach me through the website as well. So we're gonna open it up to questions. Can you have her come in now? All right, so as we're waiting, we had to kind of separate ourselves in the office here. There's a lot of feedback oftentimes on these webinars, so we had to separate ourselves here. So I'm going to have our administrator, Caitlin, join us, and she will let me know if there are any questions out there from the group. Again, we really appreciate you joining us today. And if there are no questions, I don't know, maybe everything was covered and there are no questions. That's a possibility as well. And then we end early and everyone will be thrilled. Oh, I wanted to mention as well, within the next, I believe, 24 to 48 hours, you will receive a link to a video. So it will have this whole presentation. I know people often ask for handouts and things like that, but we decided since it was such a quick webinar that it would be recorded and provided to you so that you could reference this later on.
Lorraine said, very good presentation, Suzanne.
Oh, thank you, Lorraine. Thank you for joining. Lorraine is from the Character Council of Western New York. She's one of our CITRS GROW consultants and fabulous person. So thank you, Lorraine, for joining from Buffalo, New York.
Someone wants to know how you recovered from your traumatic event.
Oh, that's a great question. How did I recover from my traumatic event? Well, I'll tell you, a lot of these strategies, and honestly, mostly mental strategies, because, when you're held at gunpoint at your place of work, it is quite traumatic. And I can't get into the whole situation, but I really had to reframe my thoughts, because every time I walked past that part of the hallway where this occurred before I would go into my office as a school counselor, I had to just reframe my thoughts and say, it is what it is. It's in the past. I'm safe. It's fine. I wasn't harmed. I really had to retrain my brain, is what I call it, and made it through. And also, I knew I needed to be my best self for my students. That was so important to me. I knew I couldn't be distracted worrying about what happened to me. It really was about being my best self for the students. So, all right. We're good with questions? Okay, I think that's it. So we're going to let you go soon, quickly. Again, thank you for joining us. citrus.org is our website. Please check it out. We do have a GROW page as well if you're interested in knowing more about our continuous improvement process. Again, it's really focused on supporting the adults in the school first, making sure you're a cohesive team, working well together, that the relationships are strong, and that we work on really highlighting your strengths as a team. So it's exciting stuff. So thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your week and weekend and happy holidays.